I want you to look at something right now. Think of some major goal you want, or maybe it's one you're already working on and you have experienced a lot of setbacks, a lot of defeats. You've experienced a lot of disappointment. Maybe you've already given up. And maybe you just need a little fire, a little encouragement to get back in the game again. Here's what I want you to look at. There are winners, there are losers, and there are people who have not discovered how to win. And all they need is some coaching. All they need is some help and assistance, just a little support. All they need is some insight or a different strategy, a plan of action to make some adjustments that will open up the key to a whole new future for them, that will give them access to the unlimited power that they have within themselves. That's all that they need.
Experience the pain. Experience the rejection. Experience the hard times. That's how you grow. That's how you develop yourself. That's how you begin to appreciate what you get. When you're working on a dream, at some point in time, a transition takes place. And the transition is what you are becoming in pursuit of the dream. Because even if you don't get the dream, you become such a strong and powerful person. It will so change your life, you can look at something else and say, well, I think I'll go do this then. Because you've now developed yourself in such confidence and such competence in how to deal in the arena of life that you can move into another area and not miss a beat. I want to talk to you about those that are making it today, or what it takes to make it today. In a time of great uncertainty, and a time of change that's taking place around the world, in a time when people are feeling a great deal of anxiety and fear and reservations about the future, at a time when people are going to work and don't know whether or not they will have a job when they get off, and not necessarily because of their performance, but because of what's happening in the economy. At a time when there are challenges more so than ever before in personal relationships. We look at what's happening on a crime level and what's happening with our youth. That many times I'm sure that we've all taken time just to stop and reflect. Many times when we hear what's happening in the news or read the newspapers, where's all of this leading to? What's going on here? And so I think that now more than ever, we must begin to look at what are the things that we can do that would put us on some firm footing in life, that will enable us to do some things and use some powers that we have, that many of us go through life never ever discovering that we have those things going for us. And part of that, I believe, is knowing what it is your life worth. What is it that gives your life a sense of meaning and purpose? Because once you find that, it puts you in your power place. Many of us stay in relationships like that. I had a friend talking to, she said she was so miserable in her marriage that one day she went home. I said, when did you get your divorce number? She said, she said, I went home, put the key in the door, and she said, I couldn't go in. She said, I was so depressed, I had so much pain in my body. She said, I couldn't just walk in. She said, I dropped to my knees. She said, I had to crawl in. I had to crawl in the house because I just couldn't. She said, I knew then I had to get a divorce. So that what happened to Joe. And Joe decided to act on that. So what can we do? Well, here's what we can do. Wherever you are, decide that you're going to focus your time. I lost my job in broadcasting, and it was a major blow to me because broadcasting was all that I had. That's all that I knew. I'd been doing that for like 15 or 20 years, and that was my specialty. But because I was so controversial and couldn't keep my mouth closed, I lost my job.
Roll the dice. If you're gonna try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're gonna try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. Go all the way. Could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. Could mean freezing on a park bench. Could mean jail. It could mean derision. It could be mockery, isolation. Isolation. Yeah. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection, the worst odds. And it will be better than anything else you can imagine.
Like this little boy, and you won't have time to say no. You won't have time to think that you can't do it. The only time you will have is to act, to take the leap of faith and believe that everything is going to be all right.
Somewhere deep inside, you know what kind of person you were designed to be. What kind of seed is in you?
As William Arthur Ward said, the pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change. The realist adjusts the sails. And that's how we all have to be. We need to look at the situation and understand not what personality type are we, but what are we going to do about it? That any of us, in any moment, we always get to choose how we react. We get to choose our frame of reference. We get to choose whether we're pessimistic. We get to see things in an optimistic way if we want. But at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is what do you choose to do? And so if you decide to fight the wind, to be angry, to argue about it, to complain, you're never going to go anywhere other than where the wind wants you to go. But if you remember that we have control, that we can react, that we can choose to adjust the sails, to harness the wind, to take us where we want to go. And instead of fighting against it and wasting energy, we learn how to harness everything around us. And as Alice Walker said, the most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. People lose sight of the fact that we always get a choice.
You talking about next level? I'm finna show you how to get there. See, the cool thing about me is I ain't got nothing to sell you. I ain't got nothing for you. I'm just gonna tell you how you can get to the next level. Now, I've been debating on how I was gonna do this, but I thought the best way to go about this is just tell you my story. And in my story, maybe you can see some of yourself. Listen, man, anybody can be successful, but you gotta understand something. It's hard. It's hard, man. You can take all the courses you want. It's hard. You can go down there to the church and hold your hands in a prayer circle. When you get through praying, it's gonna be hard. You go to school, you get all the degrees you want. When you get them degrees and you hang them on the wall, if you wanna be successful, it's gonna be hard. It's hard being successful. That's the first thing you need to understand. I was telling you that I lived in a car for 3 years. In my 30s, I was homeless. I was homeless based off of a decision I made.
Failure is part of life. I mean, the difference for me though is I look at failure as a stepping stone to success. It's a speed bump. I know I'm gonna fail, but it's not failure if you learn something. And so, gosh, I've made so many mistakes. I've screwed so many things up, but every time I do, it just becomes a way for me to explain to someone else what it takes. You know, it's like, here's what I've done. I think I have the ability to influence people because I talk about my failures. I talk about all the things that mess me up, but I show people that I didn't let it stop me, and you don't let it stop you. And I think that's really the secret there.
And if everything you touch was successful, you probably wouldn't be able to relate to people as much.
No, you'll be relate, and also it's be total bullshit, and everyone knows it's bullshit. And also you'd be bored silly. I mean, think about it. If you just said, I want this and happen, I want this and happen, you know, people don't value what they don't fight for. You know, it's like you see kids sometimes, you know, your parents will say, you're not going to value this if you don't work for it. And your kid going, I'll value it, just give it to me, right? But it's true. You know, the things we've worked the hardest for, we value the most. So I think, you know, the purpose of a goal is not getting it anyway. The purpose of the goal, you know, is who you become. Who you become is going to make you happy or it's going to make you sad. So I'm not looking for an effortless approach. There's no such thing.
If you conducted a meeting, you did the best you could. If you made a phone call, it was the best phone call you could possibly make. If you wrote a letter, it wasn't a casual letter, it was your best letter. At the end of those kind of days, when you feel good about yourself, self-confidence starts to rise. You know that if you can have this kind of a good day, you can have another one the next day, and those days become the weeks become the months, and the month becomes a powerful year. Self-confidence comes from the lack of neglect. If you will not neglect to do the small daily disciplines, that's where self-confidence comes from. Part of good health is self-confidence. I know I'm going to be healthy. I take the Herbalife products. I eat the apple a day. I walk around the block. I do the jogging on the beach. At the end of the day, when you've really poured it on and you've done all the stuff, self-confidence grows. That self-confidence affects your health. It affects your future. It affects your psyche. So this is true. One of the great powers is self-confidence. Self-confidence means willingness to do whatever it takes to achieve.